So I will say a little bit about my organization rather than about myself. So CERN is the European Laboratory for Particle Physics. It was founded in 1954. And if you read the CERN Convention, which is a 2-page document, very simple, it's not, 300 pages, something very simple. And in that document, you really see the vision of the founding fathers of CERN, enlightened politicians and scientists who understood already in 1954 the importance of fundamental research for peaceful goals, no military purposes, the importance of sharing the results of what we do, be they results from fundamental research or technological developments and innovation with everybody, with humanity, with society, and the importance of peaceful collaboration. So now, 60 years later, I think that CERN has been doing pretty well. I think our founding fathers can be proud of us. I think we have made very important research, the fundamental research awarded by important discoveries and Nobel Prizes. The last one is the Nobel Prize to Peter Higgs and François Englert for the discovery made at CERN of the Higgs boson. We have been developing cutting-edge technologies because these instruments are very important for our scientific goals. So everybody knows that the World Wide Web was invented at CERN, but there are many other innovations in many fields that have now today find applications in medical sector, imaging, hadron therapy to treat cancer, and solar panels, and many others. And also we are now, and we are clearly fostering peaceful collaboration by attracting more than 12,000 scientists from all over the world, more than 110 different nationalities. So I think the main goals have been accomplished, and will continue to push for them to be pursued.
Well, I think as a science journalist, I can safely say that CERN and the Large Hadron Collider certainly made its impact felt. It's thrilled us all, as well as being on the cutting edge of science. So, Rob, top that.
Oh, I'm not going to top that, but I will correct the way you pronounce my name. It's Rob Ivison.
I beg your pardon.
It's okay. Nobody gets it right. Well, Science's Revolution, that's the title of this conference. And that suggests that science can play a role in societal change. And I guess that, it's interesting that I presume the title, I wasn't involved in the choice of that title, but I presume it's very much related to where we are, Manchester, beginning of the Industrial Revolution, et cetera, et cetera. And organizations like ESO and CERN and EMBL and all the other EIRO Forum members stand as proof that science can achieve exactly that. And if we want to revolutionize the world that we live in, then and I have to say that's exactly why I became a scientist. It's a bit of a sad story, but I think my faith in humankind was at an all-time low when I was making that decision. And I was thinking, you know what? We need to make contact with other civilizations because it's about the only chance we've got. I grew up at a time when it was traditional to show young people in the schools of Blackburn, where I came from, a little video that showed you what to do in a nuclear attack. And I grew up, much as the next generation beyond mine grew up thinking that everybody was going to die of HIV. I thought I was going to be very lucky to reach the age of 30 because I was going to be vaporized. So, what brought me into science and into astronomy was the idea of finding life on other planets. Sounds kind of way out there, but we're on the verge of doing it, believe it or not. And hopefully getting information from those other civilizations on how we could make it through. So, that's the kind of revolution that I'm talking about. Very, very revolutionary stuff. Some of these breakthroughs are made by, a clever boffin tinkering away in a laboratory on his or her own. Some of them are made by very modest facilities. But some of the very, very big questions that we're trying to answer now are made by huge facilities that can only be put together and operated by large organizations that cross national boundaries. And that's pretty much the fundamental message that we need to get across here in terms of our organizations. That's what we do. We do things that any individual nation couldn't really hope to do on their own. And that's what the European Southern Observatory is all about. It's a group of 15 member states, and the vision of our founders more than 50 years ago was valid then, and it's valid today. ESO designs and builds and operates facilities on such a scale that no individual member country could ever hope to do that. And of course, the example that I was talking about only a few minutes ago about, if you're wondering why I'm going to lose my voice, it's because I just gave a talk just down the corridor there a few minutes ago, is about the extremely large telescope which we're building, an absolutely vast facility. It's difficult to even comprehend how big it is. I showed a plot of the ELT against this, well, what I think of as GMEX. The youngsters out there now think of it as Manchester Central, and it completely dwarfs GMEX. And we're building that on a 10,000-foot mountain in the wilds of Chile. So think of it as building something on the scale of the Etihad Arena or Old Trafford, but immensely more technically advanced on the top of a mountain in the wilds of Chile. And no individual nation could ever hope to do that. But coming together as a family of nations, that's the kind of thing that we can do.
Rob, thank you very much. I think we're of a similar generation, and I can totally relate to how things were in the 70s. And it's very easy to forget that, because we live through it all at the moment, that we really are. We've witnessed a golden age in science, and we shouldn't take it for granted. Now, Iain, if you can say a few words
about EMBL. Obviously, the guiding thoughts and principles behind setting up EMBL in 1974 were very similar to the other European intergovernmental organizations. This is a time which, as we've seen particularly through recent events, has sadly passed. I think that science is absolutely requires collaboration. It is the quintessential international activity. And I think international organizations, intergovernmental organizations, are the right way to promote science across borders for everyone. EMBL was set up to promote the molecular life sciences in Europe. Molecular biology was actually born in Europe. It was born in Cambridge in the UK, in Geneva in Switzerland, and in Paris in France. But in the post-war period had sadly come on hard times, and the European Molecular Biology Laboratory was set up to try to have a European center of excellence that would re-establish molecular life sciences in Europe as a strength. And I think the laboratory has been able to do that, or to contribute to doing that over the years. We're a bit over 40 years old, as I've just said. We're supported by 22 European and 2 non-European member countries or associate member countries. And we have a combination of missions, as do all of the other intergovernmental organizations. One is to carry out top quality basic research. A second is to provide facilities and research infrastructures to the scientific communities in the member states and actually beyond them. A third is in training, both training of people who come to work at EMBL, but we also have of the order of 7,000 people a year coming to EMBL to take part in various scientific events, including many training events. And then engage in technology development and technology transfer. There's about 1 spin-out company comes out of EMBL each year. And finally, as the European Laboratory Organization in the life sciences, we're also engaged in European strategy and policy. And together with our EIRO Forum partners, I think we have a strong voice in guiding and helping to promote bottom-up science in Europe for the benefit of the entire community and for the benefit of the entire population of Europe.
Well, thank you, Iain. We're really lucky to have the 3 of you from your 3 different perspectives, from 3 quite different disciplines to answer some of the questions that have been sent in to us. Now, as representatives of organisations that pride themselves on international collaboration in Europe, guess what the first question's about? Anyone in the audience know? What will I ask? Brexit. So the questions that I've received is, what does it mean to your respective organisations? We've also had questions from social media, from Doug Reed. What planning is there for Brexit impact? I don't know, because you're not directly involved in Brexit, you can leave that to one side. And from Dominic Leglu, are you here, Dominic? I was told you might be here. How will British science be affected by Brexit? And which sectors of science could benefit and which could be disadvantaged? So if you could start, Fabiola.
So Brexit has no direct impact on the participation of the UK scientists in CERN's activity, because CERN is not limited to European countries, and actually the UK joined CERN well before joining the EU. So at the first level, I will say that there is no big impact on that, and we'll continue to benefit and from the collaboration with UK scientists who have had an important impact in what we have been doing over the years. I remind you that actually the inventor of the World Wide Web was a UK scientist, Berners-Lee. The Nobel Prize, one of the two Nobel Prize, the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2013 was shared with a UK scientist, Peter Higgs, and there are many other examples. So the UK is a strong partner of CERN and will continue to be. Now, clearly, at the second order level, there might be some effects, some impact for European scientists, in that, for instance, will the European young scientists have access to the European grants? After the Brexit, will have be put in place. So these are a very important questions, because it's very important, of course, for the young generation, for the young people to be able to circulate freely, to be involved in this common grants and common projects. So of course this is a concern, and I hope that in the coming years, before the Brexit really is implemented, we are able to find a solution that allows really the young generations in the UK to continue to fully, benefit from what Europe is doing, and for the young generations.
Iain.
Yes, again, I think all of our organizations are in the same boat. We're not directly affected by Brexit, because the membership of an intergovernmental organization is not the same, or not related to membership of the EU. Similarly, although we do a lot of things together with the European Commission is not a member of any of our organizations. And although we have the same goal of promoting European science as each other and as the Commission, I think there really will be little absolutely direct effect. Fabiola already mentioned some of the potential important consequences in the UK and for UK research, but I'll maybe refer to the fact that EMBL is on 5 different sites. And one of those is in the UK, in Hingston, beside Cambridge. And there we employ more than 500 staff members. And of these 500, 200 are UK citizens, 200 are non-UK EU citizens, and the other 150 or so come from all over the world. There are people from more than 60 countries working there. Those people, again, will not be directly affected, but they are there with their families. And one of the strengths of our organizations is that we can hire people from all over the world, because what we do is really attractive for top quality scientists. And in the few weeks since the decision was taken, we have had almost no applications for positions at the part of EMBL or the part of EMBL that's in the UK from European non-UK citizens. In fact, 4 people have turned down the offers of positions to work there from non-UK EU countries because of the uncertainty, not surrounding them, but surrounding their families, surrounding their spouses, surrounding their children, and what will be the future for those people if they come to the UK and the conditions governing EU residence changes. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty. The other issue that Fabiola didn't mention that is organized in a European context and that the UK is very heavily involved in are the research infrastructure projects. The European Strategy Forum on Research Infrastructures has a number of projects which are being organized, in a sense trying to set up the first group of really big infrastructures since our organizations were created in Europe. This has been a rather successful event, or a series of events. There are a number of research infrastructures which are underway. The UK is an important participant in many of these. And frankly, it's absolutely not clear what will happen to these research infrastructures, how the UK will be able to participate. So one of them that I'm very familiar with, Instruct, which is in the area of structural biology, is the headquarters are located in the UK. It's not clear that the legal form will actually be able to enable it to be headquartered in the UK. So I think that there are lots and lots of uncertainties, which I think the government would do very well to try to reduce as quickly as possible while working on a long-term solution that enables the fantastic, high-quality UK researchers to continue to collaborate easily and to move freely, and to also accept freely from other EU countries scientists coming to work in the UK. I think if this fails, I think UK research could be quite badly damaged. And I think it is very important to try to
Well, the hope is that there will be some way of continuing to work. And I think my sense is the European scientific community wants the UK to continue to work, but you're absolutely right, it's the uncertainty that's causing the damage. But Rob, what are your observations from ESO's point of view?
Well, to first order, the UK's decision to leave the EU has no direct consequence for ESO or for the UK's membership of ESO. The UK has been a member of ESO, a member state, one of the 15 since 2002, and that will continue. It will remain, and there'll be no immediate impact. ESO's an intergovernmental research organisation, a treaty organisation, and that's independent of the EU. And in fact, the UK would not be the only member of ESO that's not a member of the EU. So from that perspective, the impact is not expected to be large. Having said all that, of course, the impact that Brexit had on the euro, not talking about the impact on the pound, but the impact on the euro, will have an effect. It's bound to have an effect. We're particularly sensitive to the exchange rate with the peso, the Chilean peso, where most of our observatories are based, and also with the Swiss franc and to a very small extent the US dollar. So those things will inevitably have an impact on us as an organisation. Fortunately, the massive contract, the biggest contract that ESO's ever let for the dome and main structure for the extremely large telescope, part of that was actually in Chilean pesos, but that was hedged, very luckily, a matter of weeks before the Brexit vote was taken. From a personal point of view, I have to admit to a vested interest, which probably means that nobody will listen to anything I say after that point. But I'm the very fortunate holder of a European Research Council advanced grant So that won't have a direct impact on me because my grant is already, I think I'm approaching the 3rd year of a 5-year grant. So by the time Article 50 is triggered, etc., my grant will probably have finished. So but I do have that interest. I worry enormously. I have worried for some time, even before the Brexit vote, about the general feeling within the UK. I have a position in Edinburgh that I'm seconded from to ESO, and that's where my ERC grant is held. And I must admit that even before this Brexit vote, I had trouble getting clearance to bring people that I desperately needed into the UK to work with me as part of my team. I have,
European Union nationals?
no, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the more general feeling in the country. It was very difficult for me to bring in one particular person who was not an EU national. The EU nationals, as you will be aware, it was trivial. I imagine I'm quite worried to hear what Iain said earlier about what's happening in his organisation, and I can only imagine that the same thing will be true across the board. It will be more difficult, at least in the short term. Hopefully we're talking now. What are we? We're marginally more than a month on, and when the dust settles, let's hope that things are a little bit less gloomy than they look right now.
So we could spend the entire session, the whole afternoon talking about it, but we have you here and there are other areas we'd like to talk to you about. So if I'd like to move on, I'd like to understand what international collaboration adds to research initiatives. Can each of you give an example of a piece of research that wouldn't have been possible had it not been for the fact that you've got several members collaborating? Rob, let me start with you on this occasion.
Well, it's incredibly important. It's absolutely crucial. The international research, it allows us the exchange of skills, the exchange of person power, the exchange of technology, the exchange of and sharing of infrastructure. It provides all our countries the opportunities to be involved in absolutely colossal science projects that they couldn't possibly be involved in if they were going it alone. And of course, exposure to all those projects increases the level of expertise of the citizens and all the people involved in those projects, and it brings massive industrial opportunities and economic benefits. And it's true to say that all of ESO's telescopes fall into that category. None of them, the very large telescope, we have some really staggeringly naff names for our telescopes. The very large telescope on Paranal is arguably the world's best facility from the ground right now. And that could not possibly have been built without the expertise of all the member states that are part of ESO. The Germans have certain expertise that was necessary. The French have certain other expertise. Their adaptive optics is beyond peer. The UK, in terms of the instruments that we provide for those telescopes, really, that's an incredibly important contribution that we make. The UK ATC in Edinburgh, Oxford, Durham, various other places around the UK. None of this could be done as an individual nation. And the ultimate example, as I've talked about already, is a €1 billion project, the extremely large telescope. The glass covers more area than all the telescopes that have ever existed before put together. It's an entirely breathtaking endeavor. And, if I'm brutally honest, we're even struggling to do that as a 15-member state country, organization. This is stretching us. We're going to do it. We're there. We have a mandate from the ESO Council from only 7 weeks ago to put that facility in place by 2024. The mountain, if you've ever seen pictures of it, vast mountain, has been kind of sculpted by, like something out of Hitchhiker's Guide, with the top sliced off. This is the kind of endeavor that no single country could even begin. There's other examples here, I know, but no individual country could even begin to tackle such an infrastructure project. And yet we're on the verge of getting there. and that's incredibly important that we continue in that vein. I would actually add another kind of interesting little tweak to that. I was thinking about this before I came here, about how important working together is in comparison and contrasting it with the importance of there still being competition. And I think that's an important question to ask. You know, how big can you get before there is effectively no competition possible? And at that point, then I start to worry. I know with the extremely large telescope, we face competition from North America and globally, in fact. There are 2 other projects where we're well ahead of the game. We're the only fully funded project, et cetera, et cetera. But without that competition, I'm not sure that we would have gone quite as far as we've gone. And maybe CERN is a counterexample to that, because there is no competition.
Has no competition.
But then you've got to ask, you know, would CERN have got to where it is now if there'd never been any competition?
Yes.
I don't know what the answer to that is.
Well, thank you, Rob. It has occurred to me that what you'll name your telescopes once you've run out of superlatives for largeness, but perhaps that's for another session. Iain, you don't depend on blowing up mountains and kind of having huge, overwhelmingly large bits of kit, but you still need international collaboration.
Yeah, we have some pretty big bits of kit, but I'll take a very different kind of example. One from, I should say, very many examples. This is a project which was called Terra Oceans. It's a project where the scientific leadership came from EMBL. And it was a project which involved marine scientists, cell biologists, genomics experts, bioinformaticians, oceanographers, chemists, etc., and a foundation which had a research boat. And the aim of the project was to carry out a survey of the microorganisms in the oceans of the world. And so they made a voyage for 3.5 years, taking samples at different depths at many different places throughout the ocean, and analyzed these in all the different ways and using all the different sets of expertise that were available. And I think just some of the most important first conclusions from this project were the discovery of 10,000 new eukaryotic, that's species whose cells have nuclei, and probably of the order of 35,000 new bacterial species, marine species in both cases. The reason why I can only say approximately in the case of bacteria is bacterial taxonomy is very, very complicated. They could understand through bioinformatic analysis the composition of communities, which organisms lived together, which organisms competed with each other, which organisms were necessary to allow each other to survive. And using the oceanography data, they were able to get first insights into what were the conditions that promoted the formation or the destruction of particular communities. And I think one of the most interesting and at the same time most worrying conclusions was that the single parameter that they identified on which community structure was most dependent was water temperature. And very, very tiny changes in water temperature could make big changes to the number of organisms and the diversity of organisms in different sites that were otherwise very comparable. And this obviously has implications for global warming. And that's, as I said, it's one of many examples of a project that was driven by a scientific inquiry, which needed many different kinds of expertise in order for it to be carried out, and which led to very important new conclusions of very broad interest, also to the general public.
Thank you. But in particular, I'd like to thank the three of you for sparing your time today and giving us your thoughts. So thank you all very much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.